anything is possible. I have some here now. Yeah.
That's right, you have a few.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to some are in school, some are on break, some are, so yeah.
What if I told you, one wedding dance didn't just ruin a night, it detonated an empire.
Not a normal family. Not a small argument.
We're talking about the Beckham family, a billion-dollar legacy built on image, power, and perfectly filtered perfection.
And then, one microphone, one spotlight,
one unexpected name. When global superstar Marc Anthony leaned into that stage MIC and said, "The most beautiful woman in the room," nobody expected what happened next. But what unfolded that night allegedly left Brooklyn Beckham standing frozen, humiliated, and completely overshadowed at his own wedding.
Now here's where it gets explosive.
Because years later, Marc Anthony just hinted that the public story, the one everyone swallowed, it's not even close to the real truth. Excuse me?
So was Brooklyn really the victim? Or was that narrative carefully staged? Was this about a dance? Or about control?
Brand ownership? Power plays inside a dynasty that treats image like currency?
Because when a dynasty starts cracking in public,
you know something bigger is boiling underneath.
And tonight, we're pulling back the velvet curtain. Buckle up.
I just stressed a lot more before because I was proving myself. Right? And when you find yourself in a position where you don't have to prove anything.
The spotlight didn't just flicker that night. It shifted.
And when the spotlight shifts inside a dynasty like the Beckham family, it's never accidental.
Let's rewind.
Brooklyn Beckham wasn't just any groom. He was the golden heir of the Beckham family, a family whose empire stretches from luxury fashion lines to global sports ventures to charity galas that somehow always land on magazine covers. His father, David Beckham, built a reputation on discipline, precision, and brand control so tight it makes Fortune 500 CEOs look careless. His mother, Victoria Beckham, transformed herself from pop culture icon into a global fashion empress with the kind of calculated elegance that feels rehearsed even when she blinks.
And then there's Brooklyn.
The creative one. The sensitive one. The heir who never quite looked comfortable inside the gold-plated cage. For years, tabloids whispered that Brooklyn struggled under the weight of the Beckham name.
Every business attempt scrutinized.
Every social media post filtered through the dynasty's PR machine. Even his friendships reportedly came with NDAs. Romantic relationships, strategic alliances, according to gossip insiders. Then he met Nicola Peltz, daughter of billionaire mogul Nelson Peltz. A new money powerhouse family with their own empire in investments and luxury real estate. Where the Beckhams are legacy royalty, the Peltzes are modern sharks, aggressive, disruptive, unapologetic.
Their wedding wasn't just a ceremony. It was a merger. Two dynasties. Two empires. Two brands.
And that's where things allegedly started to fracture. The Royal Beckham reception, as society bloggers dubbed it, was less romantic celebration and more global summit with champagne.
Private jets lined the runway. Diamond-tier guest list. Influencers signed contracts before posting.
The floral arrangements alone were rumored to cost more than most suburban homes.
And running the stage that night?
Victoria and David's commercial.
The best thing I've ever seen.
Best thing you've ever seen. Are they always that funny?
Yeah. They're hysterical. She's hysterical. They're both hysterical. But she is so funny, and that commercial killed me. I was like, they deserve an Oscar for that commercial.
Marc Anthony.
A global music icon known for velvet vocals and equally velvet connections.
He wasn't just hired entertainment. He'd been close to the Beckham circle for years. Practically family.
Godfather to young Cruz Beckham.
Vacation photos. Yacht parties. Holiday dinners.
Which makes what happened next even more delicate. As the reception reached its emotional peak, guests reportedly anticipated the classic bride and groom first dance. Weeks of rehearsal. A cinematic moment designed to flood social media with perfection. But then Marc took the MIC. His voice smooth. His smile unreadable. And he said it. The most beautiful woman in the room. Cameras lifted. Guests leaned forward. Everyone assumed Nicola. Instead, Victoria Beckham rose from her seat. Now pause right there. Because in powerful families, symbolism matters more than words. Victoria stepping onto that stage wasn't just a mother dancing with her son.
It was a visual.
A statement. A reminder of hierarchy. Some guests later described the room as confused but polite. Others claim there was a noticeable shift in energy, the kind that happens when something unscripted crashes into a perfectly scripted event.
Brooklyn reportedly froze. Nicola allegedly stiffened.
And for 3 minutes that felt like 30, the narrative of the night changed. Was it spontaneous?
Was it planned? Was it a misunderstanding?
Any challenges that come up, whether it's production, whether it's life, whether it's this going, I've been there before, trust me. Don't waste your damn time just stressing about it. This too shall pass, onward and upward. And so that lightens your load on a stress level, and you tend to wake up happier and more fulfilled, and just going, just knowing that everything's gonna be all right.
Or was it a subtle assertion of dominance in front of two empires? Insiders later claimed Nicola left the ballroom briefly, visibly emotional. Others denied any dramatic exit. DJ Fat Tony, the celebrity DJ who curated the entire soundscape of the night, would later describe it as a timing glitch, not a power play.
A timing glitch. In a wedding planned down to the millisecond. Interesting.
Because here's what makes this situation combustible. Brooklyn didn't stay silent forever. Months later, in what many called a digital detonation, Brooklyn released a lengthy public statement hinting at years of pressure inside the Beckham machine.
He spoke about control, about identity, about feeling like a logo before he felt like a son. He didn't name the dance directly. He didn't need to.
The internet connected the dots in seconds. Suddenly, the wedding moment transformed from awkward anecdote to symbolic breaking point.
Commentators split into camps. Team Brooklyn versus Team Dynasty. Think pieces multiplied.
Reaction channels dissected body language frame by frame like it was the Zapruder film of celebrity culture.
And just when things seemed to calm, Marc Anthony broke his silence.
During a recent interview, when asked about the infamous reception, he smiled, that slow, careful smile, and said, "The version being told publicly isn't the full truth."
Not aggressive, not accusatory, just enough.
Just enough to destabilize everything.
Because now the question isn't whether Brooklyn felt humiliated.
It's whether the humiliation narrative itself was curated.
Was Brooklyn reclaiming independence?
Or was he repositioning himself strategically within a new power structure backed by the Peltzes? Remember, Nelson Peltz didn't publicly attack the Beckhams.
He praised Brooklyn and Nicola. Calm, controlled, supportive. Strategic.
Meanwhile, David and Victoria maintained their public composure.
Smiling at charity galas. Posting anniversary tributes. Appearing untouched. But absence speaks loudly.
When Brooklyn and Nicola later held a vow renewal ceremony, a symbolic reset of their marriage, the Beckham family was noticeably missing.
No David. No Victoria. No Cruz. That wasn't a scheduling conflict. That was a statement.
And in elite circles, statements aren't made lightly.
So now we're left with layers.
A wedding moment that may or may not have been misinterpreted. A son claiming emotional suffocation. A dynasty protecting its legacy. A billionaire father-in-law standing quietly in the background.
And a global superstar suggesting we've only seen half the picture.
Which half? That's where it gets dangerous. Because when public narratives fracture, power shifts. And if the Beckham brand has always been about unity, perfection, and control, even a crack can cost millions. What if Brooklyn's story isn't just emotional? What if it's financial? What if independence from the dynasty means independence from contracts, licensing rights, brand clauses tied to the Beckham name itself? And what if Marc's subtle hint wasn't about the dance at all, but about something negotiated long before the music started? The more you look at it, the less this feels like a wedding mishap.
It feels like a chess move. And someone, somewhere, miscalculated.
Because when you try to step out of a dynasty's shadow, you better be ready for the spotlight to turn harsh.
And right now,
the spotlight is blinding. And just when you think this saga is about bruised feelings and awkward dance floors, the paperwork starts whispering. Because here's where the story takes a turn from emotional drama to strategic warfare. Multiple anonymous insiders, and you know how that goes, began hinting that the real tension between Brooklyn Beckham and the Beckham family didn't explode at the reception.
It was brewing months before.
According to sources close to the Peltz circle, there were ongoing negotiations tied to Brooklyn's name, image rights, and future brand licensing.
Let's pause there. Image rights.
Inside legacy families like the Beckhams, the surname isn't just a last name. It's intellectual property.
It's trademarked.
Licensed. Controlled.
Monetized.
Allegedly. So when Brooklyn started building ventures under his own creative direction, photography drops, culinary projects, lifestyle branding, insiders claim discussions began about how much of that would fall under the Beckham global umbrella.
Translation? Who profits from Brooklyn being Brooklyn? Was he an independent adult building his own identity? Or a subsidiary branch of the dynasty?
Now imagine planning a wedding in the middle of that kind of tension. Sources claim lawyers from both families were in quiet alignment meetings weeks before the ceremony.
Not dramatic shouting matches. No slammed doors. Just strategic conversations behind glass walls in offices that overlook skylines.
One insider allegedly said, "This wasn't about love.
It was about leverage."
And suddenly, that reception moment doesn't look so random anymore. Because symbolism is currency in elite circles. Victoria Beckham stepping onto that stage, whether accidental or invited, could be interpreted as warmth.
Or it could be interpreted as reminder. Reminder of who built the empire.
Reminder of whose last name still carries weight in boardrooms. Reminder that legacy doesn't dissolve because a son says "I do." And here's where Marc Antony's recent comment becomes explosive. When he said, "The public version isn't the full truth," people assumed he was defending the dynasty.
But what if he was protecting himself?
Because leaked chatter suggests Marc wasn't just hired to sing. He was reportedly involved in coordinating the reception's emotional timeline. Yes, that's a thing. High-end events are structured like film scripts. Every speech, every light cue, every spotlight moment is pre-approved.
So if there was a timing glitch as DJ Fat Tony described,
that glitch had to pass through layers of approval. Which raises the obvious question: who approved it? Was the dance moment spontaneous? Or was it part of a larger attempt to shift narrative optics? Some online theorists claim the reception was designed to subtly reinforce the Beckham matriarch's presence at a time when Brooklyn's independence narrative was gaining traction. Too dramatic? Maybe.
But then came another alleged leak.
A financial blogger claimed that shortly after the wedding, restructuring documents surfaced tied to Beckham brand subsidiaries.
No confirmation.
No official statement. Just whispers that internal contracts were being revised. Coincidence?
Or preemptive damage control?
Meanwhile, public reaction spiraled. Team Brooklyn flooded social media with emotional support. Posts about breaking generational control.
Threads analyzing childhood interviews.
Clips of Brooklyn looking uncomfortable at past family events resurfaced like digital archaeology.
Team Dynasty pushed back just as hard.
Commentators argued Brooklyn benefited from the empire his entire life.
Luxury schooling. Private travel. Brand connections. Global access.
You don't get to reject the throne after enjoying the castle, one viral commentator posted. And Nicola Peltz?
She stayed mostly silent.
Which made her silence louder. Because the Peltzes operate differently, they don't do messy interviews. They don't subtweet. They invest. Nelson Peltz publicly praised Brooklyn's independence in a carefully worded business summit appearance. "I respect individuals who define themselves," he said.
Neutral sentence.
Nuclear implication.
Define themselves. Away from what?
Away from whom?
And then came the vow renewal. A private island. Minimal press access. Select guest list. Noticeably absent?
The Beckham family.
That absence became a headline on its own.
Because reconciliation doesn't usually skip symbolic milestones.
By now, the internet wasn't debating a dance. It was debating power structures.
You had pop culture analysts comparing this saga to Succession. Lifestyle influencers turning it into think pieces about toxic legacy families. Finance bros dissecting potential asset divisions like it was a corporate merger gone wrong. And right in the middle of it,
Marc Antony. Memes flooded timelines.
Clips of him saying "most beautiful woman in the room" looped endlessly.
Some blamed him for lighting the match.
Others argued he was the scapegoat in a much larger chessboard. Because let's be honest, performers at that level don't freelance emotional improvisation at billion-dollar weddings. Everything is curated. Everything is intentional.
Or at least, it's supposed to be.
So when Marc now subtly suggests we've only heard half the story, it feels less like gossip and more like coded language.
Half the story about what? The dance? The contracts?
The power struggle? Or something deeper no one has officially addressed? Because here's the uncomfortable possibility. What if the humiliation narrative was the cleanest version available? What if the real conflict isn't emotional, it's structural? A generational shift. Old guard legacy empire versus new age autonomy. David Beckham built a brand on discipline and hierarchy. Brooklyn appears to want fluidity and personal branding without dynasty oversight. Those two philosophies don't merge easily.
They collide. And when they collide publicly,
investors notice. Partners notice. Competitors definitely notice.
Which means this isn't just a family issue.
It's a reputational risk. And reputational risk in elite circles equals financial tremors. No official investigations.
No lawsuits announced. But subtle indicators matter. Cancelled joint appearances. Brand campaigns quietly adjusted.
Publicists working overtime behind the scenes. If this were truly just a misunderstanding, why does it feel like a cold corporate separation?
Because sometimes, the most dramatic wars don't involve shouting.
They involve silence,
Strategic distance.
and carefully chosen words like, the public version isn't the full truth.
That sentence lingers. Because in a world where image is engineered, truth is negotiable. And right now,
The Beckham family and Brooklyn Beckham appear to be negotiating reality itself. The only question is, who holds the stronger contract?
and just when you think the board has settled, someone flips it. Because power struggles inside dynasties don't end quietly.
They evolve. They mutate. They reposition. Behind closed doors, according to whispers circulating in elite social circles, crisis managers were allegedly brought in.
Not the regular PR team. Not the social media coordinators.
The heavy hitters. The ones who specialize in narrative containment. That alone tells you this wasn't viewed as a cute family misunderstanding.
It was treated like a brand emergency. Let's talk numbers.
The Beckham global portfolio reportedly spans luxury endorsements, fashion licensing, sports ventures, real estate holdings, and philanthropic foundations. Even a small crack in public unity can ripple into investor confidence. And when investor confidence wobbles,
Meetings happen. Emergency meetings.
now imagine this. Executives analyzing trending hashtags about Brooklyn's humiliation while calculating quarterly projections. Ridiculous? Maybe.
But perception drives value. And perception right now is split.
Some industry watchers claim sponsorship discussions tied to joint Beckham appearances were quietly re-evaluated. No official statements.
Just subtle scheduling changes. A campaign here postponed. A gala there rescheduled. Coincidences pile up fast in this world.
Meanwhile, Brooklyn's independent ventures suddenly accelerated. New collaborations announced.
Solo branding efforts amplified.
Interviews framed around authenticity and self-definition. It almost feels strategic. Because if you're stepping away from a dynasty, you don't just walk.
You launch.
And that's what makes Marc Antony's lingering comment even more fascinating. When he implied we don't know the real truth, it created a vacuum.
And vacuums get filled. Conspiracy threads popped up within hours.
Amateur analysts drawing digital timelines. Comparing contract filing dates with the wedding date. Examining body language from old Beckham holiday videos like it's forensic science.
But here's where things turn nuclear.
A rumor, unverified, unconfirmed, but circulating aggressively, suggests that discussions about brand control reached a boiling point shortly after the reception incident. Some claim Brooklyn sought partial release from legacy licensing agreements tied to the Beckham surname.
If true, that's not emotional rebellion.
That's corporate separation. And corporate separation inside a dynasty can get messy.
We're talking shared trademarks. Shared equity. Shared public identity. Untangling that isn't a therapy session.
It's a negotiation table with lawyers. And here's the twist that's making industry insiders nervous. Nelson Peltz, Nicola's father, has a history of aggressive acquisition strategy.
Friendly on the surface.
Ruthless in structure. What if this isn't just Brooklyn escaping control? What if it's Brooklyn aligning with a different power base?
Two empires. One heir. One marriage. This could be less Romeo and Juliet. More strategic alliance. Which brings us back to that wedding dance.
Because if there were already tensions simmering behind glass conference doors, then that spotlight moment becomes symbolic fuel. Victoria Beckham stepping into frame could be read as maternal warmth. Or it could be interpreted as a reminder. You may be married,
But you are still Beckham.
and if Brooklyn was already negotiating autonomy,
That reminder might have felt suffocating.
public humiliation isn't always about embarrassment.
Sometimes it's about hierarchy being displayed in real time.
And when Brooklyn later described feeling overshadowed, controlled, or constrained, supporters saw vulnerability.
Critics saw narrative positioning.
Because here's the uncomfortable truth about elite families. Image is architecture. And architecture doesn't crumble without resistance. David Beckham has built his empire on composure.
He hasn't fired back publicly. No messy interviews. No emotional rebuttals.
Silence can be strength.
Or it can be strategy.
If this escalates further, what could fallout look like? Industry experts speculate 3 possibilities. First, quiet reconciliation. Behind-the-scenes negotiations.
Adjusted contracts.
Carefully staged public reunion photos. The dynasty restored for brand stability. Second, structured separation.
Brooklyn operates independently.
The Beckham name becomes a legacy branch rather than a controlling umbrella. Public statements about mutual respect.
Clean. Controlled. Profitable. Third,
Escalation.
leaked details. Competing narratives.
Subtle shade through business moves. Alignments shifting in high society. And that's where higher-level scrutiny could creep in. Not criminal investigations, let's not go that far, but regulatory reviews.
Brand compliance audits. Financial transparency checks triggered by public restructuring.
When billion-dollar names shift ownership structures, agencies notice. And public backlash?
It's already simmering. Fan bases divided.
Comment sections looking like digital battlegrounds. Think pieces questioning whether legacy families create generational pressure disguised as privilege. Cultural commentators are reframing this as something bigger than celebrity gossip. They're calling it a generational identity war. Old empire thinking versus modern self-branding. Dominance versus decentralization.
Inheritance versus independence. And right in the center, Brooklyn Beckham.
No longer just the groom from a dramatic wedding clip.
Now a symbol, either of rebellion or of strategic repositioning. And Marc Anthony? He's become the accidental catalyst. Memed, analyzed, replayed.
But here's what no one seems to notice.
He never clarified. He never explained what the real truth actually is. He just cracked the door.
Which means the rest of this story is being written in speculation. Because in elite circles, the most powerful weapon isn't accusation. It's ambiguity. And ambiguity keeps headlines alive. Right now, there's no lawsuit. No public confrontation.
No explosive tell-all interview. Just distance.
Strategic, calculated distance. Brooklyn building his narrative. The Beckham family maintaining theirs. The Peltzes standing confidently in the background.
Two empires observing each other. Carefully.
Because if this truly becomes a battle of brand sovereignty,
it won't be fought on a dance floor. It'll be fought in boardrooms. With contracts. With equity. With influence.
And maybe, just maybe, the wedding dance wasn't the explosion.
Maybe it was the warning shot.
Because when legacy meets independence in public view,
someone always loses control.
The only question left is, was Brooklyn humiliated?
Or was he liberated? And depending on which version of the truth you believe,
the answer changes everything.
So now I'm leaving this in your hands.
Was Brooklyn Beckham really humiliated on the biggest night of his life? Or did we just witness the first public crack in a dynasty that's been carefully engineered for decades? Because let's be honest, this was never just about a dance.
It was about power. It was about control.
It was about who owns the narrative when legacy and independence collide. Marc Anthony drops one cryptic sentence, and suddenly the internet splits in half. The Beckham loyalists say Brooklyn is ungrateful. The independence crowd says he finally broke free. The Peltzes?
Calm. Strategic. Watching.
So I need to know, do you think that spotlight moment was accidental?
Or was it a silent reminder of hierarchy?
Was Brooklyn stepping into freedom, or stepping into a bigger power game? And here's the real question nobody wants to say out loud. If the public version isn't the full truth, what are we not being told?
Drop your theory in the comments.
I'm reading everything. If you believe this was a calculated dynasty move, type control. If you think Brooklyn is rewriting history, type strategy. And if you think this story is far from over, type round 2. Because trust me, when empires shift, more cracks appear. Like this video if you want the next deep dive.
Subscribe if you're ready for the truths they don't put in press releases.
And turn on notifications, because if another piece drops,
you already know we're exposing it first.